I am so glad to be with you this morning at the Georgia State Capitol. I am Dr. D. Dawkins Hagler, a former member here in the General Assembly, and I have the privilege of being your MC on today. But thank you. Thank you, all of y'all that started one time. Thank you. But anyway, what I was going to say is we do know that we are in the legislative session, and when you're in the session, things change a little bit, and we have to be respectful and mindful of the schedules of everyone involved, including our governor. So with that being said, we're going to go ahead and welcome you to Georgia's 38th Annual Martin Luther King Tribute Program, which is put on every year by the Martin Luther King Jr. Advisory Council. So at this point, I know I have a runner show, but I want for everyone that is a member of the Advisory Council to please stand at this moment so you can see who they all are. Give them a warm round of applause. Thank you for sharing this important day with us. We know how important it is. This would have been Dr. King's 94th birthday. Can you believe that? His 94th birthday. This also, again, marks the 38th celebration that we've had here in the Capitol. And where else should it start but right here in the Georgia State Capitol? King is a son of Georgia, and that's so even though his body could not lay in state when he died here, his memory will always be present here in the state capitol. So in an attempt to make sure I cover everyone who serves here, I now want to introduce everyone that's a member of the state senate. If you would stand at this time. Y'all can do better than this. Give them a round of applause. They work hard. And if someone could give me some sound on this mic, that would be great. And I'm bending over quite a bit because, I'm a little bit, vertically challenged. So even though I'm in like some 6-inch heels up here, I still am like reaching over because I'm that far from the mic. Okay, thank you. Now, would all the members of the Georgia House of Representatives please stand? Oh. As usual, the House is always showing up with an extra number. You see that, Speaker? The House always has extra people. Okay. So here we are. Now, do we have any other elected officials that are in the building that would like to stand up and be recognized at this time? Okay. Any former elected official of the state Senate or state house would like to be recognized at this time? All right, thank you so much. And the first thing that we're going to do, because we know that the governor has a schedule to keep up with, we're going to bring to the podium State Senator, who are we bringing up? Kim Jackson. She is going to lead us in our invocation. She's not? Okay. I know y'all have a program. See, they gave me a running show to follow. I'm going to follow this program. How about I do that? That's what I'm going to do. So here we go. The presentation of colors is going to be presented by the Georgia State Patrol. They're going to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance. So if you all would stand, please, for the Pledge of Allegiance. To the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Okay, but thank you. Are we singing or something? Okay. And the Atlanta Boy Choir for the national anthem. And now that I'm going to read off this paper, we are cooking with grease. So now if you will come forward, Senator Kim Jackson, who is the vicar of the Church of the Common Good, and she will be followed by Mr. Christopher Nunn, Commissioner of the Georgia Department of Community Affairs, who will then introduce the governor, then followed by the governor's remarks. Thank you.
Thank you, everyone. I invite you to gather for a moment of prayer. God of our weary years, God of our silent tears, Thou who has brought us thus far on the way. We pause to give you thanks for the life and legacy of our dear brother, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King, Jr., a son of this great state, and a man who called upon the nation to change her ways and become a more perfect union, a nation where sons and daughters, where all of God's children are beloved. We pray, oh God, that you help us to create a state, a nation, and a world where we study war no more, where we value solidarity over sexism, community over classism, and peace over partisanship. Help us, oh God, in the words of Dr. King, to build a beloved community and a world house of peace. Amen.
Thank you, Senator. Good morning. On behalf of the Department of Community Affairs, we are proud to host the state's Martin Luther King Council at our agency and proud to assist the advisory committee with putting on this great celebration. I want to just extend a warm welcome to the family, to all of our elected officials, and really to each of you. I want to take a special point of privilege to acknowledge all the young people in the room. Thank you so much for being here with us today. My task today is very simple. It's to introduce a man that needs no introduction. Before I do that, I want to offer a special thank you, and Governor, I apologize, I'm going to probably steal some of your thunder, but I want to thank our First Lady for her attendance here today and for being here. Marty, I remember the first time y'all attended this event as a family. If my recollection serves me correct, it was the day after your first inauguration. And ever since, this has been a priority for the Kemp family. Thank you for being here today, and thank you for all you do for our state. So, as I said, on the day after his second inauguration, I dare say there is nothing that I can tell you about Brian Kemp that you don't already know. I could stand here and talk about his small business roots and his continuing commitment to small businesses all across this state. I could talk about his lifelong commitment to public service and to making this state that we all call home better. I could talk about his character and my observations that he is a man of faith. But I'm pretty sure that all of y'all are here to hear from the governor, not from the DCA commissioner. So without any further ado, please join me in welcoming Georgia's 83rd Governor, Brian Kemp.
Well, thank you all very much. Thank y'all so much, and good morning, everyone, and thank you, Christopher Nunn, for that kind introduction, but also for your leadership at the agency for a long time now. You're doing a great job, and you and your team at DCA has done another incredible job this year with this service and celebration. Marty and I are just so honored to be with you again. We certainly remember that I've been to many King services, as our members of the General Assembly will remember back when I was in the Senate and as Secretary of State, but we certainly remember our first visit as the governor and first family with y'all, and we're just honored to be with you and the King family again today. I want to congratulate and thank Speaker Burns, who has running the house like a well-oiled machine on day number 4. I also want to thank someone that told me years ago he's the glue that holds everything together around here. In a lot of ways, he still does that. The former Dean of the House, Calvin Smyrie. Thank you for your leadership. Also just want to thank Chris Womack, a great Georgian, a great leader. I know he will have great words for you today. I also know he, like me, is very busy right now with the storm damage that we saw come through the state last night in his role as Georgia Power, and we're thankful for all his folks that are on the ground today, along with a lot of other utility partners, a lot of state workers. I would ask you all and all Georgians to please keep these individuals in your thoughts and prayers today. It's dangerous work. This was a horrific storm. We know that we've had 2 fatalities so far, a 5-year-old child that was killed by a tree that fell on a vehicle, and a state employee who was trying to help clear roads, a DOT employee, lost his life as well. And so I would just like to offer a quick prayer if you would bow with me. Lord, thank you for this day and for our many blessings. But we also know this day has been tragic in many ways for our fellow Georgians, and I just ask that you would bless them and give them peace in this time, and let us all keep those on the ground that are in harm's way today and over the next 2 or 3 days or perhaps longer. Keep them safe and give them your strength, and let us continue to do your good work in this state. Amen. I also want to again thank the members of the General Assembly who are here, who've been just great partners with us and my administration, so many community leaders that we have gotten to know over the years, for continuing to celebrate but also reflect on the legacy of Dr. King's good work. I also just want to thank the Atlanta Boy Choir. We have them here at the Capitol a lot. Y'all just do an incredible job, even the 3 youngsters on the back row. Thank you guys for being with us. You know, each year we gather like this to honor a beloved son of our state, a profound leader and a champion of civil rights. Each year we mark this occasion not just to remember Dr. King or his wisdom, not just to celebrate his contributions to our state and nation, but also to remember his mission, his actions, and his inspiring message. To remember the man is to consider the man, and each of us must consider how we build on his timeless legacy in our own unique ways. Just as we hold a national responsibility to perfect our union, we also hold the moral responsibility of rooting out hate and ensuring equal justice under the law. Throughout all his too short life, Dr. King made it his mission to instill that moral responsibility in the hearts and minds of all that could hear his voice. In spite of facing the pains of hatred, the challenges of enforced prejudice, and the horrors of threats against himself and his family, he carried out that mission, advocating for nonviolence and encouraging others to rise above the lesser aspects of our nature. Thanks to his work and wisdom, our society has made great strides in the decades since his death. I was pleased to see that in a recent analysis of all 50 states and Washington, D.C., that Georgia once again ranked 3rd in the nation for racial progress. But like all of you, I am not content to rest on our laurels. Justice requires constant effort. That is why we will continue to ensure that everyone is treated with equal respect and value in this state. And it's why we want all Georgians to have opportunity, no matter their zip code or their background. Last year, I called on the Department of Administrative Services to review our state's procurement practices and to make recommendations on how we can improve access to those opportunities for minority, women, and veteran-owned small businesses. I'm happy to share that that report has been issued and we are reviewing how we can implement the improvements as we speak. We also look forward to working with the General Assembly and continuing the hard work of building a stronger, fairer state with opportunity for all. Today I have a proclamation declaring Monday, January the 16th as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Georgia. As I say each year, let's remember that Martin Luther King Jr. Day is just not another day on the calendar. It is a reminder that every day we should celebrate Dr. King's life of service, reflect on his bold leadership, and honor his legacy by engaging in acts of compassion toward our fellow citizens. And then the brevity of compassion. I'd like to apologize for Marty and I and soon Speaker Burns leaving a little early today. We are going to view the tornado damage in places across our state so that we can continue to respond in the best way that state government can with the resources that we have, working with the locals on the ground. I again would encourage all Georgians to keep those that lost their life and their families in those communities and those that are on the ground helping with this response in your thoughts and prayers today. But it is again an honor to be with you, to do the proclamation again this year. And it's my understanding that Commissioner Nunn will be presenting the proclamation with Senator Jones and Representative Mitchell and a host of other folks to the family later in the program. But thank you all. God bless you, and God bless the great state of Georgia.
Thank you so much, Governor Kemp. And now we will move on to remarks from our speaker. So, Speaker John Burns was first elected to the Georgia House of Representatives in 2004. During his tenure, he has served on numerous committees and has been called upon to lead in a variety of capacities during his 9 terms in office. Born and raised in Effingham County, Burns earned an undergraduate degree in political science from Georgia Southern College and a law degree from John Marshall Law School. Prior to serving in the State House of Representatives, Burns served as the 12th Congressional District member on the Georgia House of Transportation Board. Most recently, he served as Majority Leader in the House of Representatives, something he did since 2015. In late 2022, the Republican caucus selected him as Speaker of the House, beginning this session following the passing of Speaker David Rawson. He and his wife, Dale, live on the family farm in northern Effingham County. They have 2 grown sons, 2 daughter-in-laws, and 5 beautiful grandchildren. Please join me in welcoming Georgia's new Speaker of the House, John Burns.
Thank you, Dee. Thank you. Good morning, and thank you for the invitation to speak at this ceremony. Members of the King family and our honored guest, again, good morning. We gathered together today under the gold dome of our capital to celebrate one of Georgia's favorite sons, a native son, the Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. He was born in Atlanta, educated at Morehouse, and pastored at Ebenezer Baptist. Dr. King's life and legacy are woven into the very fabric of our state. A champion for the oppressed, a practitioner of nonviolence, and a preacher of the gospel. Dr. King devoted his life to service and sacrifice. In 1957, he told an audience in Montgomery, "Life's most persistent and urgent question is, what are we doing for others?" That is the question we must ask of ourselves at every opportunity. Indeed,
Dr. King practiced what he preached. He risked his freedom and his life time and time again in the pursuit of a more just society. He worked to ensure a brighter future for all, and his legacy lives on in those who follow the trails he blazed. I am mindful that the speaker to follow me on this program is the former Dean of the House, the Honorable Calvin Smyre. His nomination sits before the United States Senate, awaiting what should be a unanimous confirmation to become an ambassador of our great nation. He was a driving force behind making Dr. King's birthday an official state holiday and was instrumental in the work to place a statue of Dr. King on our Capitol grounds. Thank you, Calvin. I'm thankful for Dr. King's legacy, and I'm grateful, thanks in large part to Calvin Smyre, that legacy is rightfully honored in his home state. Thank you all for joining us this morning for this special observance. May God bless you all, our state, and this great nation. Thank you.
He's already said I was next, so let me get up. But it's a joy to be here this morning at this annual observance, and I've been doing this since 1986, and at our first charter observance, and I'm deeply honored to be here today. To the King family, to our governor and the First Lady and, of course, Speaker John Burns, and to all of my friends here from the House and Senate. I know I saw the Majority Leader Chuck Estration, thank you for being here, and the Minority Leader James Beverly. To all our constitutional officers, thank you, Commissioner Nunn, and to the Chair, Chairman Billy Mitchell. Ladies and gentlemen, I am thrilled to be here, and it's a pleasure and my honor to be asked to introduce and present our guest speaker for this observance, my friend, Chris Womack. You know, when we first called Chris, he was chairman and CEO of the Georgia Power Company, and we are just so thrilled to learn that come March, he will be the CEO and president of the Southern Company. So let's give him a round of applause for that. We're deeply, congratulations. I tell you one thing I know about Chris Womack. He loves his state, he loves his country, and I have watched him in the 40 years that we have known each other. One of my dearest friends, the late Jim Davis of the Georgia Power Company, introduced us, and we've been friends ever since. He's known to love his community, his state, and this nation, and I have gotten to know him through his service at East Lake Foundation, the National Board of First Tee, and also Alliance to Save Energy. I remember when the governor appointed him to the Georgia Ports Authority, where he has been involved in global commerce for the state, and he has also assisted with Atlanta becoming a designation city by his work on the Atlanta Visitors Bureau and as head of the Atlanta Sports Council, and his works there. It's often stated that you make your living by what you get, but you make your life by what you give. Chris Womack has made his life by giving, and for that we're all thankful. Chris, my parting comment would be that continue to plant seeds to trees for the shade you may never see. If you will continue to do that, and we will all do that, this will be a better state and a better nation. So ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the podium our guest speaker for this occasion, Chris Womack. Thank you very much.
Thank you, and thank you, Dean. Thank you, my good friend, and my greetings to the governor and Marty and the speaker who had to depart because of the storms. Let me say thank you and good morning, and to the King family and all of my friends of the King family. Let me give greetings to them on this wonderful and special day. I'm going to be brief. I'm not going to go very long, but I do want to say a few words as we reflect on this period that represents Dr. King's 94th birthday and some 37 years that we have now been celebrating this day to honor his life, and it is very moving and meaningful to me personally, but also to a lot of us to do this in this place, in this state, in this city, in this town, where he did so much work. It is indeed a great honor. Dr. King dreamed a lot. Dr. King dreamed a lot. He had a lot of dreams. And Dream Source Labs, as they kind of measure dreams, they say there's a real deep connection between your faith and your dreams. And so clearly Dr. King is well known for his I Have a Dream speech in 1963 on the mall of the Lincoln Memorial, where he talked about the dream that he had for this country. But he also gave a speech in 1964, February 5th, at Drew University in Madison, New Jersey, that he also called the American Dream. Let me give you a few excerpts of that speech and talk about, and some of the words he shared about the American Dream. I would like to use a subject from which to speak tonight, the American Dream, and these are his words. And I use this subject because America is essentially a dream yet unfulfilled. The substance of the dream is expressed in some very familiar ways found in the Declarations of Independence. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all men are, in fact, that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, that among these are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. This is a dream. He goes on to say that all I am saying is simply this, that all life is interrelated, and we are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied in a single garment of destiny. Whatever affects one directly affects all indirectly. For some strange reason, I can never be what I ought to be until you are what you ought to be. And you can never be what you ought to be until I am what I ought to be. This is the interrelated structure of reality. John Donne caught it in years ago and placed it in graphic terms. No man is an island entire of itself. Every man is a piece of the continent, a part of the main. And he goes on toward the end to say, any man's death diminishes me because I am involved in mankind. Therefore, never sin to know for whom the bell tolls, it tolls for thee. I think this is the first challenge, and it is necessary to meet in order to move on toward the realization of the American dream. The dream of all men of all races, creeds, national backgrounds, living together as brothers. Those were Dr. King's words in 1964. So what does that mean for us here today? What does that mean for public officials, for politicians? What does it mean for business leaders? It means we all have an obligation to serve and to help. We have an obligation in our roles to grow the economy, and I wish the governor was here because I so frequently speak to what has occurred in this great state over the last 12 months with some 350 plus economic development projects, $22 billion worth of investment, 50 plus thousand jobs that will be created by this work. We must make sure that as we achieve this success to grow our economy, that all of our communities participate, all of our communities. It is also important that as we do this, that we make sure that there's incredible diversity involved in all these processes and all the work that we do, in all the departments that we lead, in all the businesses that we run. And once again, our governor, and it's been noted, has the most diverse list of executive and judicial appointments in the country. So we must applaud him for that work, but that is an obligation that we all must uphold, that we must do better. We must work to make a difference. Denzel Washington once said, and he said a lot. He said a lot. But sometimes in his kind of spiritual, personal flows and conversations about life, he'll say things like, don't just aspire to make a living. You know, we always say go somewhere, get a good education, get a good job, have a good living. But don't just aspire to make a living, aspire to make a difference. Aspire to make a difference, to help someone, to lend a helping hand. And one of the things that I was talking to Commissioner Nunn about it a few minutes ago because it matters a lot to me. We all drive up and down these streets and we see people who have had unfortunate circumstances and going through a difficult challenge in life. What is our response? Many times we're confused. We don't know whether we should look at them. Should we wave at them? Or should we not give them money? Acknowledge them. A lot of times they'll tell you, just give me some acknowledgement. But more importantly, we as leaders in government, but also in the business community, we must not accept that condition in reality. We must not let that condition be silent and be unattended. We must work collectively with people that are trying to help, whether it's food kitchens, whether it's shelters, whether it's a need for additional housing. Things like homelessness, we must not accept that as a reality. We must establish goals in our community that we're going to completely eliminate it. Yeah, people will have temporary chronic conditions. Things will happen. But I think in this time of dreaming, we must have dreams to say we can do hard things, we can do difficult things, and we can eradicate, we can eliminate homelessness. And so, let me say one last quote and then we'll get out of here. I refuse to accept this from Dr. King. I refuse to accept the view that mankind is so tragically bound to the starless midnight of racism and war that the bright daybreak of peace and brotherhood can never become a reality. I believe that unarmed truth, and unconditional love will have the final word. Let's keep dreaming. Let's keep dreaming. Let's never stop dreaming. But let's make our dreams become a reality. Ladies and gentlemen, enjoy this day, enjoy the meaning of this day. Get out and serve, get out and make a difference, get out and help somebody. But thank you very much for giving me this opportunity to speak and share with you today. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Womack. That was a dynamic, awesome speech. All jokes aside, because you know when Dr. King, as he was ending his life, it was before the Poor People's Program, and then you're out here speaking about homelessness, and we can do better, but we have to have the testicular will to want to do better and do right. So thank you for that. All right, y'all, we are moving right along, and so next we're going to have Representative Mitchell. Representative Mitchell, look at your phone. So do you want to bring up, or okay, so now we're going to bring up the Vice Chair of the Georgia Legislative Black. You want them to sing first? So we're taking her out. Okay, so I got you. Okay, so now we're going to have a selection by the Atlanta Boys Choir again, and you all really receive these young men. They are so beautiful and so wonderful, and they have the voices that are so melodious, and now we're going to hear a song from them. Thank you. You all give another round of applause for the choir and Alexander Eller. Her name is Alexander Eller. She had a beautiful voice. All right, now we will have Senator Mickey Merritt, and after you come up, we will have Christine Ferris Watkins. You will come up, and the Commissioner and Representative Billy Mitchell will present the proclamation to you after this next remark, okay? All right.
All right, good morning, everyone. And thank you all, that was beautiful. So I bring greetings from the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, and I want to welcome the King family, my members, the governor, and Mrs. Kemp, as we celebrate this joyous day. And as you all know, for more than 45 years, the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus has sought to protect the general welfare of Black people and other people of color and disadvantaged citizens of Georgia in the matters of health, welfare, education, social and criminal justice, and employment. And what better way to affirm that commitment than on this day? This day, as we celebrate the life and the legacy of Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King. And I want us to just be reminded of his dream and how we are all committed, and the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus is committed to carrying on that dream, and how we should embody that every day, because we do have work to continue. The dream has not quite been satisfied, and I ask all of you to join with us and help wherever you can, so that we can make sure that that dream stays alive and we are moving forward. We have so many issues to address in our community today, from housing to employment to health care, and that will remain a priority for us in the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus. So I just want to thank you all for being here today, and enjoy your day. Have a good one.
Thank you so much. And I just wanted you all to know that Representative Ginyard had to get back. It was an emergency, but he does send his regards. And so in that, Steve, with all the members of the Georgia Legislative Black Caucus, please stand up. And thank you so much, Senator Mayor, for filling in at the last moment. That's how gifted women do. They can turn it on a dime. Yes, okay. Got it? Okay.
Great job, Nikki. This doesn't have to do with the proclamation, but I think we ought to give Dee a round of applause. So we all understand how during this time of year that lots of things can be up in the air. I think the only thing we have not thrown at her is moving this entire thing to the other end of the Capitol. So great job, Dee. So Billy, do you want to do the honors? We are here to present the proclamation to the family. Do you want to read this?
Yeah, certainly the significance of this day, and we certainly are grateful to have Ferris Christine Watkins here representing the King family here to accept this proclamation, as was so ordered by the governor. And let me just say that this observance that we have annually here in Georgia at the Capitol is one that should remain so significant, in that Dr. King himself grew up just blocks from this building, and we would want to make certain that it is an observance of observances, that it is all that we can. And I'm so appreciative to have Christine, or Ferris Christine Watkins here, someone who went to school with our daughter, Senator, our daughters. But to read it in part, whereas Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., a native son of Georgia, called upon all men and women to live up to the founding principle that all of us are created equal, and Dr. King devoted his life to the ideals of peaceful social change while facing threats and violence, and his principles and actions continue to inspire people of all nations. And whereas this year marks Georgia's 39th annual celebration of the life of Martin Luther King Jr. and the 38th year of the federal holiday in remembrance of his life, Georgians will participate in this service projects in communities across the state on Monday, January 16th. I, Brian Kemp, Governor of the State of Georgia, do hereby proclaim January 16, 2023 as Martin Luther King Jr. Day in Georgia. Please give her a hand. Would you like to say a few words?
Thank you so much.
All right, thank you.
Well, thank you all so much. Thank you to our governor, to all of the members here, to my family, to the Reverend Dr. Bernice King. Thank you all so much for having me, and once again, reflecting on this day that means so much to our family. While I was sitting there, I was reminded of a sermon that I was listening to the other day where the preacher was saying that he asked his congregation while they were doing the tithes and offering if there's anybody who needs anything, that you are more than welcome to get it out of the offering plate. And so I thought about that, and that's a radical move. How many of us maybe go to church, what have you, and that opportunity maybe not is extended to us? But we have the opportunity every year, 365 days a year, to be that pot, so that somebody can reach into us, so that we can be a blessing to their lives, so that we can continue the mission that was started so long ago. I pray for all of you all that as we remember this day, that we continue to serve, that we continue to act, that we continue to do exactly what has been given as our birthright, to stand in this nation and do exactly what we're supposed to do. So thank you all so much for this proclamation, for the remembrance of this day. And this is not a day to rest. This is a day to serve. This is a day to act. It's a day on, not a day off. Thank you.
Wait, isn't
she getting married?
Amani is, yeah. That's her father right there. Yeah. So I told Maya, you can't do it till you get about 40.
That's right.
Like my dad told me the same thing.
That's right.
Thank you all
Thank
so
you.
much.
Thanks for being here. And next year I'll flip it back to Ferris Christine. I'm not used to Miss Christine.
All right. All right. I got that. Each year, this council presents awards to individuals who have made notable contributions to the furtherance of civil rights and equality. This year, there will be 4 individuals recognized, and we are excited to honor them at this time. We will invite them to come up, receive their award, and have their photo taken with the council to the left of the podium. So will the council members, if you will, please present yourself to my left. Yes, is this it? Yeah. We will start with the Rita Jackson Samuels Founders Award, which was named after one of the founding members of Georgia's Martin Luther King Jr. Advisory Council. Ms. Samuels was not only a founding member, but she was instrumental in having the council established. After a lifetime of professional service in both Georgia and our nation's capital, she continued to fight for the advancement of women in numerous volunteer capacities. This year's recipient of the Rita Jackson Samuel Founders Award goes to Wande Akurin Meadows. How did I do, Miss Akurin Meadows? How about Okunorin? Gosh. And believe it or not, I was practicing too. Wande is the executive director of the Hand, Heart, and Soul Project at Little Ones Learning Center in Forest Park. HHSP works to nurture and advance the needs of the community by creating equitable access to quality education, nutritional and collective resources. The center's distinguished farm to early care and education program, which includes the Little Lions Farm Stand, serves as a national model for promoting child nutrition in early childhood settings. Wande has 24 years experience running the Little Ones Learning Center, which serves over 175 children from birth to 5 years old. Please help me recognize Wande Okanurin Meadows. Come forward, please. She's also past chair of the Caucus of Emory Black Women. I'm just impressed. BA from Emory University in anthropology. Glad to have you as an award winner. Let you come over here with our group so we can get a picture worthy of People magazine.
And I appreciate your honesty when you butchered your name.
Yes. Yes. The Reverend Joseph E. Lowery Wright Civil Rights Award is presented annually to an individual for unwavering advocacy for leadership development in the fight for civil rights. Reverend Lowery was a minister in the United Methodist Church and a leader in the civil rights movement. He founded the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, or SCLC, along with Dr. King. His participation in leadership in the civil rights movement began in the 1950s and continued through the 21st century. The sum of his work resulted in the nickname, the Dean of the Civil Rights Movement. This year's Joseph E. Lowery Civil Rights Award is presented to the Reverend Fred Taylor. Born in Prattville, Alabama, Reverend Taylor, I'm sorry. Reverend Taylor is raised by his grandparents. At the age of 13, he became involved in the civil rights movement by handing out leaflets during the Montgomery bus boycott. He graduated from Booker T. Washington High School in Montgomery and Alabama State University. He also graduated from the ITC Center here in Atlanta with a Master of Divinity degree. In 1984, he became the director of direct action and convener of SCLC's Crisis Intervention Committee, where he coordinated the 1985 boycott of Winn-Dixie supermarkets and the 1988 Martin Luther King pilgrimage for economic justice. Please join me in welcoming the 2023 Reverend Joseph E. Lowery Civil Rights Award recipient, the Reverend Fred Taylor. Yes. And then we give that to him. I'm going to be brief, maybe 2 minutes, and then we're done. All right. Thank you. Okay, let's move on. The next award is the Andrew J. Young Humanitarian Award, named after a leader in the civil rights movement, civic activism, an elected official, a groundbreaking ambassador, social entrepreneur, and an advisor to presidents. This award is presented to an individual for the pursuit of the ideals of universal human rights and social justice for those in need. John T. Johnson, JT, a native of Albany, Georgia, joined the civil rights movement in 1963 when he began working in Southwest Georgia with Martin Luther King Jr. and the Southern Christian Leadership Conference, a gifted local and regional athlete who in the segregated South had not been allowed to compete for athletic scholarships at mainstream universities. JT attended Albany State College, but soon left Georgia for New York and later northern New Jersey. Returning to his hometown at the height of the Albany movement, he witnessed firsthand the power of nonviolent direct action and understood the great potential of the civil rights movement and its strategies for social change. After Albany, JT continued his work with SCLC, becoming involved in movements throughout the country. In St. Augustine, Florida, when he and others integrated the pool at Munson's Motor Lodge, the manager poured acid into the pool, and the film footage of this acid pouring generated both national and international media attention. Within weeks of the St. Augustine movement, the 1964 Civil Rights Act was passed. In January 1968, JT was also part of the national staff that sent to Washington, D.C. to prepare for the Poor People's Campaign. Presently, JT Johnson is CEO of Coach Consulting Incorporated and heads the Take to America Foundation, working to progress youth development and mentoring throughout Atlanta and the state of Georgia. Please help me welcome our awardee, JT Johnson. JT, I almost feel like I want to hold the mic, but he has something burning in his heart, and so therefore, go right ahead.
Thank you very kindly. It's an honor to especially receive this award from my dear friend Andy Young and my good friend Fred Taylor and all of the people from SCLC and the King family. You know, I say to people when I'm talking, the two things I start with. The civil rights movement was the most important thing of the 20th century. That's the first thing. Number two is Atlanta, Georgia is a very special place to live. It's Martin Luther King Jr.'s hometown. We must honor that. Dr. King says nonviolent and non-existence. We don't seem to start that conversation in Atlanta. Through my foundation, we're going to start the conversation around nonviolence. Some young people say it's not something they want to talk about, but you know, the foundation, we have listening sessions for young people. They love the conversation. It's all of our responsibility to make this great city a place that all of us could enjoy, walk these streets, enjoy everything about Atlanta. So once again, it's a very special place, and I hope we will begin to treat it just like that. Thank you.
Thank you. And it brings me a special honor to make our final presentation. The John Robert Lewis Lifetime Achievement Award is presented to an individual who has demonstrated a lifetime of public service in support of equality and education. As we know, former Congressman Lewis was a champion of civil rights, known as one of the big six leaders of the civil rights movement. A tireless champion of promoting equality for all, Lewis continued in this fight until his passing just 3 years ago. The event that you are participating in today is what you see due in large part of this year's John R. Lewis Lifetime Achievement Award awardee. Senator Emanuel Jones was first elected to represent Georgia's 10th Senate District in 2004. In 2013, after discussing with Ms. Rita Jackson Samuels and then Governor Nathan Deal, Senator Jones introduced the legislation to form this Georgia Martin Luther King Jr. Advisory Council. Senator Jones is president of the Legacy Automotive Group. Go by there and buy yourself a car. Help the brother out. Which includes multiple dealerships from Metro Atlanta to Columbus. He is owner of one of Atlanta's area's largest African-American owned businesses. Senator Jones graduated valedictorian from West Fulton High School right here in Atlanta, the University of Pennsylvania, with a degree in electrical engineering, and received his MBA in finance and accounting from Columbia University. He's also commissioned as a second lieutenant in the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers and rose to the rank of captain. Please join me in recognizing the 2023 John Robert Lewis Lifetime Achievement Award recipient, Senator Emanuel Jones. listed it here? Give- What's that? House Senate, and what's the name of it there? Seven Pillars Career Academy. Yeah, all right. Before I go on any further to conclude our program, once again, I'd like to have my colleagues in the legislature, starting with the state senate. If you are a state senator, would you please stand and be recognized? These folks are doing the people's work for sure. Let me also ask the members of the House of Representatives to stand. If you are here, please stand. As I call your name, I want you to stand. These are the members of the Martin Luther King Jr. Advisory Council, and they are Senator Tanya Anderson, Barbara Harrison, Tammi Valencia Stovo, and of course, Commissioner Christopher Nunn. Please stand and give them a hand. They do a great work for this state. I am proud to serve as the chair, and Senator Emanuel Jones, my friend, I just want to thank you again for your leadership and foresight for doing this. As I tell the council often, I believe the observance for Martin Luther King in Georgia should be among the best anywhere, for obvious reasons. Dr. King, in his final speech, and it was the striking sanitation workers in Memphis, no less, he reminded us of the parable of the Good Samaritan. He encouraged us to change the question we often ask when we come face to face with suffering. It's not, if I stop to help him, what will happen to me? The question ought to be, if I don't stop to help this man, what will happen to him? I encourage you that those of you who are here visiting the Capitol today, to come and look on the Capitol grounds of the statue that was erected, where you can be reminded of what a godly man can accomplish, even in the face of adversity. May it serve as inspiration to do his work. Certainly, it starts with me. It starts with you. I want to recognize the Seven Pillars Career Academy. They are here. Would you students please come forward? We want you to take a picture. I want to thank our Councilmember Valencia Stovo for bringing this extraordinary group to our attention. Please come forward. How's that? Can we make it work? Thank you all for being here and doing what you do. Great. I also want to thank the Atlanta Boys Choir for making this program much of what it was. Please give them an extraordinary hand. It was extraordinary. Of course, I want to thank the governor, Mrs. Kemp, the Speaker of the House of Representatives, and all the other program participants for making this a very special occasion. I understand it's being televised statewide, and it's a part of the archives that will last forever. Okanoran, right? There you go. And certainly, Ferris, Christine, Watkins, I want to thank you for representing the King family so very well. With that, I'm going to bring up a valiant senator who does extraordinary work in the State Senate of Georgia. She's going to give us our benediction, which will bring our program to a close. Senator.
As we prepare to close, I want to remind us all to continue to hold all of those who were impacted by the storms in prayer. We remember especially and pray especially for our friends in Selma, Alabama, where they were just hit by a tornado on yesterday. So we pray for them as well. With that, I'm going to offer a benediction in the words of Dr. King that is also borrowed from the Hebrew Scriptures, and so it will be familiar to all of you, but he prayed this benediction or offered this benediction in his sermon on February 28th of 1954. I want to invite those who are able to please stand to receive this blessing. May the Lord bless you and keep you. May the Lord make his face shine upon you and be gracious to you. May the Lord light up the light of his countenance upon you and be with you in your going out and in your coming in your labor and in your leisure, in your moments of joy and in your moments of sorrow, until we meet again, when there shall be no sunset and no dawning evermore. Amen.
Amen. Wonderful. Thank you all. Pictures. Ferris, you said you wanted a particular picture? The winner? Akanurin.
They want to get all the award recipients and take a picture.